thought you were.
I forgot what the thought was.
You were still talking about being, about the organization's greatest accomplishment.
Well, I thought that, yeah, enough people don't know about this organization. And and that's true of a local, I have the same complaint with local organization, that though we work and we put, the only time we advertise, majorly advertise, is two little major blurbs in the, on the anniversary. And I understand it costs a lot of money, locally and nationally, but we need to do more of that. Our work may be very good if nobody knows that we do it. It's not, you know,
Like the light under a bushel.
And that's the one thing I say with the early years of the organization, somehow the word got out because I'm from this county out in Western. The places people came from in the early days of this organization, I couldn't believe. I'm from this part of Kentucky, I'm from Louisville, and I'm from here.
But I think the same thing is locally. We won 2 Lambda Awards, which are given by the paper we were talking about earlier, the Philadelphia Gay News. And we won them, I think, in 91 to 92 or something like that. We haven't won any since. But those years were the years we were involved in a lot of AIDS work. We took ads out, and our name was associated with it. Of course, it was paid for by the health department or by our National AIDS Task Force. And, you know, our name was constantly out there. We supported a fundraiser for the Maplethorpe exhibit, which was a couple of days before the controversy broke over Maplethorpe. Otherwise, we would have made a lot more money with the Giovanni's bookstore. It was an AIDS fundraiser. But the important thing, we were out there. It wasn't that we were doing a lot more. We just were out there with, and it didn't. It helps to have the associate editor, member of the group, and we sent the newsletter to him, and he would take excerpts out and put it in the paper. So, you know, we had a lot of exposure. So those years we won awards. After that, we never won awards again because, except in the Pride Parade, we won the Most Spirited Award. But but the thing is that you have to be in the news a lot to get those awards. And still doing the same thing, but just in the news. Because if nobody knows about you, nobody's going to vote for you.
Well,
the same
nobody
thing
comes
with
to
the national.
Right. Well, nothing's going to come to anything that's just social. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be doing something to get that done. And then comes to the ever question about social and political.
Well, what do you like best about the National, and conversely, what do you like least?
Ooh. You need to take this one. I'm going to do this for a while.
Well, see?
Well, I like that the National puts on the conventions. I like that the conventions are structured. I like that the idea of having a black and white caucus. That's one of the main reasons I come to a convention is for a black and white caucus. They separately and coming back together. I think that the state should have them all come back together. What's the point of having caucuses if you don't share information? You don't share information, you don't grow. And of course the finding out what's happening at the other different chapters, and meeting members, and meeting your family again. That's what I do like about the organization. Not to get too emotional about that, but what I don't like about the organization, unfortunately, you're dealing with people, not machines, and people are not as efficient as they need to be.
You get what you pay for.
Well,
and our salaries.
well, this is true. This is true, and I been more than upset. We even talked about this today. That the idea, people have the best intentions in taking positions, and some people's job is to oversee those people who take those positions, and some people don't follow through on those jobs. And you can't expect a membership to keep on paying when even the explanations are given and don't talk. not 1 year, but 70% of the year. And then the membership will forget about those things. So, and then, I have a problem with that, the accountability when it comes to financial matters. That's one of my big pet peeves, and I have not contributed for a while because of it. Though I do go to conventions, I contributed that way. I do come. But I love coming to conventions. The idea is definitely wonderful. So I miss not going to conventions. Thank you, John.
Well, I would agree with you on what you've already mentioned. However, I think that I also enjoyed the multicultural, multiracial workshop. I think that's the cornerstone of our organization. The sense of family that we get at the convention, as you mentioned. And the saddest part, or the part that I don't like, is again, the memorial services, finding out who didn't make it this year. That's always sad. And also the demise of the National Task Force on AIDS Prevention. When that, I know it separated, but then it seemed to be going well, and then it folded completely, and I was kind of sad to see that happen, because I don't know if that issue of relating to the black gay men is being addressed in the way it should be. Now, maybe it is, but I'm not aware of that.
Well, this is the last question. What do you think is the future of the National Association? Is there a future?
I think there's a future for the National Association. We have to find a way to get the information that we're here out to the rest of the country. And also to people that are in D.C. and people in position in power. That's one thing I remember seeing. If nothing else, I remember Phil Wilson talking to Congress about AIDS research, and AIDS money and funding and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, why couldn't we be part of a coalition of other people who did the same thing, knock on people's doors? To effectively let people make notice of us. If we need an action done in D.C., why can't we call on 5 chapters or 6 chapters to write letters? Or why can't we have people knocking on doors? Or why aren't we doing that? Why can't people, when something happens in a particular city, why can't we have people react to it? And why can't when something happen like may happen on, I don't know whether the national response when James Byrd was killed in Texas. I don't know how fast the response was from the national. But I'm just saying that's an example of things that we should have had at least 2/3 of our chapters writing letters in. We should have had the national make a statement, send that in ASAP. That should have been done. I don't know if it was or not, but that's just like I say, just an example of noted things that happen that we need to be continually on. If something happens on a national front, something like that, we need to be working on it. That's all I really say.
There were things that I was hoping that the Anti-Racism, Anti-Oppression Committee would do, but that kind of didn't take place. However, the Multiracial Multicultural Institute sprung from that, and I think that's a good selling point. But I think that our future depends on, again, pushing that institute, as well as the national membership. And I hope that the moves we made this week will enable the national to focus on the national, increasing the national direct members. And I think that will help us to grow and get the word out all across the country where we have no chapters.
Well, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, there are several gay communities in cities, in different cities in all this country, and none of them may not have chapters there. What is to say that we can't bring the NA to those chapters. Let's say parts of Minnesota, I don't know, doesn't have a chapter, but they have a gay community there. Say, what if we say, can we bring the NA there and say, we want to put a program on based on that. Just say, would you be interested in it? Or even community center, would you be interested in us putting a program on like that, free of cost, blah, 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 blah. And we advertise, and we try to get people there. I understand it's tough when you don't have anybody in those cities to work to do that logistics, but it brings us somewhere where we've never been before, who may not get our information from, not know about us. So, and it gets people out of their comfort zone. You know? And I think that one of the biggest problems that we have about racism issues and like AIDS issues is that unfortunately we talk so much, but we don't get our hands dirty.
Well, the Institute has the walk the talk.
Well, the Institute and the manual were major steps. They were major steps, and we're going in the right direction with that. But that's what I think we need to get our hands more dirty because the issues are bigger than what we're dealing with now. I know people have their lives, but still.
And I think that we have to concentrate on trying to get younger members. I always know that's a problem because as we get older, it sounds like, oh, the older men want to jump on the younger men. But if we don't have younger men in the organization, when we kick the bucket, there isn't going to be an organization. So we really need to try to extend that invitation to the younger groups.
Is that it?
I think so.
Well, thank you very much. We're very appreciative, and thank you.
And thank you for the interview.
Thank you. I expect all mechanical production rights for all these rights reserved for me.
Question, you were talking about your conversation with your partner after last year's convention.
Right, and he was sharing that he was noticing that we had a seasoned members, and was wondering where the youth and the 20 to 30-year-olds were. And I think that's a question we've been wrestling around with, you know. And the only thing I could say is that, you know, the times have changed, and we have to start changing with them a little bit more, you know, as an organization. You kind of have to really start thinking of more innovative ways to attract, you know, younger people to the organization. And I do think that's from the top down. I do think that, you know, we're just going to have to start thinking outside the box in terms of how we can utilize the media more effectively, how we could utilize our website more effectively, and the local leadership. You know, it's just going to have to be a really massive resurgence, but it can be done. You just have to think about how we can utilize our talent just a little bit more effectively. So I just think that it can happen. I'm very optimistic. It's just a matter of just shifting gears a little bit. But while we're shifting gears, we have to make sure that we allow for those new ideas to actually manifest themselves. And that's a little bit scary because we're so used to doing things in a certain way. And of course it's tradition, but I think that we can still have tradition coupled with innovativeness. And so I think that's what's going to carry us to the next level.
I'm gonna have to say something about the thing about the youth. My first convention was in 1990, so I was 29 years old, and I knew there were, when I first joined the organization in '85, I knew that there was. I'd heard about the conventions going on, but I never really felt like, why would I want to go to one of those? You know, why? And I thought, you know, oh, that, you know, they do business and workshops, and a 25-year-old mind, that's the last thing that I want to do, is sit in a workshop. I was young, you know, my idea of having fun was going out or doing other things besides running to a convention and sitting in a room, you know, discussing issues. You know, that's just, and I think that's one of the reasons we don't get youth at these meetings, because I have to think of my own personal experience. I really never felt like I really wanted to go to one of those until I actually went to my first one. Now, of course, once I went to my first convention, once I went there, I was hooked. I thought, okay, this isn't so bad, and actually it was quite fun, and it was great to meet people. Over the years, the thing I've noticed is and I guess this is with anything that you've done, so many times. It was fun. It was new. It was exciting the first time I went to it. Met a lot of people. Well, now that I've gone to these for quite a while, I know most everybody, and you can almost say been there, done that kind of thing. And so it's not as new and as exciting for me anymore. But I still like to come to these conventions. And for me personally, the excitement isn't, there. The level of excitement isn't there like it was the first couple of times that I went to conventions. But I still like to go to these because I still see people. I only get to see some of you once a year. And it's like a family reunion to me. I love to go to these just to simply catch up on, what have you done over the last 12 months since we last met. Just for me personally, though, it's just the excitement has kind of gone out of it, but it's been replaced with something a little more, I don't want to say civilized, but a little more mature, I guess, that, there is issues that need to be discussed. There are things that need to be done that, that are in our statement of purpose that we still need to work on. So that's why I continue to come to these.
Do you think the perception to the public of our conventions is just a business meeting? You think that's
To some,
one of the problems?
because the problem I've noticed, not just with our chapter, but at the national level, is you get some people from the outside. Oh, you're a sex club. Oh, okay, I've heard about you all. And I've had to dispel that myth. I wish I had $1 every time I did, dispel that myth.
Also, just to piggyback off what Doug is sharing, I had an interview with Venus Magazine about black and white couples, and the NABWMT came up. And I just thought it was very interesting, even in this, national magazine, the first thing that came out of the interviewer's mouth was, well, your partner must be older, he must make more money than you, like I'm naive. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. No, I make more money than he does. And, I just don't, it just really upsets me when it comes back to that people have the certain stereotypes of this organization. And I think that is probably working against us, Also, people probably have the perception that now we are a more mature group. When you have people like James Earl Hardy, who offers his little criticisms, that doesn't help us. It's publicity, but it's not necessarily good publicity. And so I just think we have got to find a way that's a little bit more proactive, not be so reactionary, but put our own image and our own face out there. I think the media could be a great tool for us to really refuel the interest in the national. I just think we have to utilize it a little bit more effectively.
And you always have your, for lack of a better word, your bad apples that give us our bad name. I mean, we had them in our chapter. I see them at the national level, and people from the outside look at that, and they think that personifies the whole organization.
Or they want it to personify.
Or they want it to, yeah. And then they try to project that image on the whole organization, and from somebody on the inside. Of course, we know that is not true, but on the outside, and that's what really counts, is how do they perceive us. And when you have a few bad apples spoiling that perception, it's not good.
Well, let me shift gears a bit here. How have you seen AIDS affect this organization?
It's been devastating. Like I was telling you, I remember Dale Pescavas and all. He was not inflicted, but I'm just thinking about people we have lost. Period. But Mickey Fritchie. Oh God, there's so many people that I grew to love that are no longer here because of HIV and AIDS. And I feel like I've had the gift of knowing all of these people early on, when the epidemic was just hitting, really taking hold of our community. But having said that, I think we have such a responsibility to rally our brothers against this disease. I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. I think we can just shift the gears a little bit in terms of reminding us that while we are able to still sit here in fellowship, there are those who came before us who fought gallantly who are no longer with us. And we have got to still hold them in reverence. I think HIV/AIDS will always be an important part of my life. Just because it's hard to believe. I can't even think of a time that existed before HIV/AIDS now. It's just everything. That epidemic or pandemic has just shifted everything. It was a whole paradigm shift. And the thing that's really scaring me lately is that people are shifting back into old behaviors, which means the second, third wave could be possibly occurring as we sit here. I would like us to continue to play a vital role in terms of prevention, as well as, being there for brothers who are afflicted. I really think we have an important responsibility to carry forth with HIV/AIDS. I think we should always remain on the proactive end. We just lost so many people. How can we not? How can we not? And with everything that's happening in the country now, in terms of the budget cuts and people losing programs and employment, and we've got to be active. We can't afford to just remain dormant.
I would have to say it really hit home with me on the AIDS epidemic when I looked at the memorial list and looked at my own chapter, how long that list was. And for a while there, it was like, my gosh, I've gone to one funeral and now there's another one, and then another one, and I was, Kansas City's not that big of a chapter. But when I saw that list was almost half our chapter. Close to 1/2 to 1/3 of our chapter was on that list. And that's when it really hit home that, my God, we really have lost quite a few members. And that's when it really made me step back and think, my goodness, we've lost so much talent, so many, beautiful people, individuals. And it just took me back for a while. But then again, I have to look on the bright side of this. I watched how the gay community pulled itself together during this epidemic, unlike I haven't seen in quite a while. I mean, it's pretty much back in the 80s. It was a gay disease, and I was so proud of the way the gay community pulled itself together. And because it wasn't coming from the federal government any direction, because of the previous, the Reagan administration. But I was very impressed with the way that the gay community came together, started their own AIDS organization. The National Task Force for AIDS Prevention came out of the NA. But many other organizations, rose to the occasion to take care of our own, and pretty much we're still doing that. And I'm very proud of that fact. We've got it woke the gay community up. That promiscuity is something that we need to look at very hard. I mean, because to me, I looked around the gay community and I thought, there's a lot of irresponsible individuals here. They're just running out. They seem to think their life consists of, as a gay man, to go out, do their job, come home, go to the clubs, find a man, go home with them. And to me, that's a pretty unfulfilling life. And I think the AIDS epidemic was a wake-up call that, there are other things maybe that you could do with your life other than have promiscuous sex out there. I think it was a real wake-up call to the gay community to get its act together.
I think also I was just sitting up here thinking about, again, the skills that I've gained in this organization. Yet again, it was Gavin Morrow Hall. And Donald Ransom went out to New Jersey for their HIV multicultural training. You know, again, that's again how my business life intersected with this organization in terms of HIV/AIDS. And Gavin has been a long standing member in the organization, and you know, here he was again passing along the torch in terms of HIV/AIDS. And it's just very interesting how the organization has always been right in the right place at the right time in terms of different battles that's been going on with a particular ism, in this case HIV/AIDS. So yeah, it's like I said before, I just don't see my life ever being without some type of activism for HIV/AIDS prevention.
Well, how has being a member of this organization changed your life?
Oh my goodness. I'll go ahead and start here real quick.
Thank you.
Never being in a interracial relationship before 1985, you know, you'd hear about the racism and things like that on the news, and then finally when you're dating someone and they point things out to you, then I started noticing things. You know, just subtle things. And that's when I finally had my eyes open to the fact that, my goodness, you know, racism is alive and well in the 80s and 90s, and to some extent here to 22nd or 21st, whatever century it is. So it kills me to think, you know, you've got people running around thinking affirmative action, we shouldn't have it anymore because racism doesn't exist anymore. I mean, those folks are burying their heads in the sand as far as I'm concerned. Yes, we've got problems with that system, but no, racism is still out there. But this organization has really done, I can't say just the organization, my chapter, the Midland chapters, and the national have done a lot to educate me as an individual. I mean, I have done a lot of growing up in this organization. I have learned a lot from the individuals in this organization. And probably the one thing is I've learned a lot about myself in this organization. I've learned to look at myself and how do I react in certain situations. And it's really been one hell of a learning experience. And I'd have to contribute opening up my eyes to the issues of racism, not just to my first lover, but to this whole organization. And all the many workshops I've been through, all the personal interaction with other individuals, all the hours of discussions I've had with people about this issue, they've all done something to touch my life and to make me a better person and just to make me more aware of the things that are going on around me. Because sometimes we walk through this life with our blinders on, and we need to have those taken off so we can see the whole picture. Some people never see the whole picture, but this organization has done so much to educate me and to open my eyes to a lot of things that go on that are just not right. And that's why I almost have the statement of purpose memorized. So,
for me, I think, as I said earlier, I grew up in this organization. I mean, I'm just thinking back to like an awkward 16-year-old to a pretty articulate 36-year-old. You know, it's just, I can't begin to say thank you enough, because I really am indebted to particularly the African American men here, the PhDs here, the white brothers here, but particularly the black brothers, because I saw myself